So it's 25 minutes now to 8 o'clock, and we head into national pause or lockdown. I was going to say, lucky you, those of you who are at home, but is it truly lucky you? We're pleased to be joined today by Brenda Roach, who's a psychologist. And Brenda, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm glad to know that you're well too. A lot of us have found ourselves now yet again in this toxic world of a lockdown. So life just feels very, very different. We're looking for some kind of balance to what's going on. You are quite primed to be able to help us through this as well. So what are some of the things that we need to look out for when we recognize that we are off track?
So some of the things to look out for, maybe you're not sleeping well, you realize that you're waking up and you're not getting a restful sleep. Maybe you have changes in your appetite, your eating habits, those have changed. Maybe you have begun to feel a little bit more moody, sad, or maybe you realize that, being locked up in four walls is kind of driving you a little crazy. That's the best word to put it.
And so when that happens, we have to pause for just a moment and acknowledge, you know what, I am not coping well. But then there are others who are saying, but why can't you? I'm coping okay. And that now creates another form of guilt for those who are not. So for those around us who are watching us wither, what do you want them to do?
And I like what you said there, Mr. Bowie, when you spoke about to pause and acknowledge that yes, maybe I'm not coping as well as I would like to cope, and how come everyone else around me is coping as well as they are. So I think you need to manage your expectations. And when I say manage your expectations, understand that yes, because you are at home, some people are working from home. That means that some people think that, okay, that means I can put in a lot more extra hours because I am at home, I have more time. But manage those expectations, because this is kind of a transition again. We're getting accustomed again to being at home and being in a home environment and still being able to be productive. Create dedicated workspaces. So, for instance, when you go to work, but you have a dedicated space to work. So when you're at home, make that clear division. For some, it may not be as easy as others. Some may have an actual room that they can use and they can do their work in that area. Some may have to utilize parts of the same space that the whole family works with. And in that case, you just communicate to the other members within your household, well, hey, I'm using this section of the kitchen dining table for my work, and this is my workspace. So we respect that boundary. But again, it's also about communicating your needs to those around you. So especially your family. I think right now we need to over-communicate how we're feeling, how we're doing.
But sometimes you just feel like screaming because it feels as if no one understands. You're saying to them and you're perhaps exhibiting in the best ways you possibly can that you are really pressuring me here. And they don't care because they got deadlines too. So how do I, the individual, now manage myself through all of this? Because I really want to hit you hard.
And especially bosses, like you said, who would be emailing you and sending deadlines. And again, they can't see you physically. So it means that you still have to communicate to them exactly what is happening. That they in a most respectful way, being kind to yourself. So, for instance, you know that you're in this lockdown, it means that you still have a certain amount of work that you have to produce. So it means establishing those transition times for yourself. Right? If you realize that you don't have anyone that you can talk to in terms of support, write it down, journal. And I always advocate for journaling. I mean, even in my private practice, I always encourage people to journal. And what that means is write down what's happening during your day. So, for instance, if there's an event that comes up that your boss is sending you an email, and right now you feel like screaming at your boss, write that down. Write down exactly what the event is. Who makes up that event? So if it's your boss, write down your boss's name. If it is the environment, what is happening in your environment at home that's causing you to feel overwhelmed, flustered, frustrated. Write down what your thoughts and reactions were towards that event and situation. Create some interpretations, analyze what's happening, right? Pause, just reflect on exactly what has happened. Realize and see and interpret what is happening, because you have to really acknowledge within yourself what is happening within yourself, because really and truly we can be out of whack, out of sync, like you did mention.
So I've acknowledged, you know what, I am stressed out. I'm just stressed out because all of these factors are impacting me. What next do I do? I've acknowledged it, so what next do I do?
So what you can actually do is create some breaks. Even when we're at work physically, right? Normally we have a commute to work. So then during that commute to work, sometimes we're going through what can happen during our day, what we have planned for the day. Then on evenings, we have a commute back home, right? And so again, that's time for us to relax, calm ourselves down, right? So we can mimic that in our normal day to day at home. Now remember, the Prime Minister did say that you can still go outside, you can still go for walks, you can walk around in your actual backyard if you can. So if you realize that you are becoming that frustrated, you are that stressed, always go and connect with some nature. And what I suggest is you go outside. If you don't have a backyard, then you go and stand up on your veranda or you stand up right in front of your house and you just connect with nature. Listen to everything that you are hearing outside. So tune your mind into what you're hearing. So you may hear the birds outside. You may hear the wind blowing through the trees. You may hear one or two cars on the road because some people are still allowed to be out on the road. But tune into those noises, those sounds, and those help to ground you and bring you back to where you need to be.
To reality. Then there are those who wake up because they realize, oh, I've been not just severed, I've been put on a break. I may not be earning, and yet still I have these little mouths around me to feed, myself included. What do you say to them when they look ahead and they just see darkness?
And that one is a tough one. It's at those moments then that I think if you don't have, always find supports. So we have supports within our communities. Maybe they belong to a church community that they can reach out to the church. They can reach out to other family members who may be able to assist, or maybe not. Maybe they can reach out to a neighbor. Ask a question. I know sometimes we can be termed as a very prideful society, and sometimes we don't want to reach out for help, right? But the government also has systems in place to assist those who are not actually registered in the system, and that you can actually call a hotline and ask for help, because sometimes we do need to ask for assistance. And maybe even if it's not asking for assistance for ourselves, it's asking for those little mouths that you're talking about to help feed them, put food on the table for them.
So, we're talking about now about rebalancing because we should learn from these experiences. I think that's what life is all about. As we go, we have experiences and we hopefully learn and grow from them. What do you see as the path of growth coming out of this second pause of sorts, and just how the world has just drastically changed? What should I begin now to do to reposition myself?
A very good question. What should we do? And again, like you did mention, yes, it's happening all around the world, and I think the pandemic has been termed as a very fluid situation, and as such, we have had to change how we operate as individuals. We've had to learn how to move with the ebb and flow of what is happening, and that's the key here. We are resilient people, and it's for us to remember that we are resilient people. Many of us didn't think that we would get through last year in March, right? But so utilizing some of those same structures and practices that we put in place. Just now you had two doctors on and they were speaking about making sure you eat healthily, make sure you exercise, make sure you continue to keep those routines. And those things are always reiterated every time. Routines are so important, especially when you have children, creating those routines for them, especially as adults, creating routines for yourself. So continuing to keep those routines in place. If it is to work out early in the morning, do that. If it is to take regular breaks, do that. So keep being kind to yourself, acknowledging that yes, this is a tough situation for all of us to be in, but establishing your routines, establishing your transition times, creating dedicated workspaces, communicating your needs to family, friends, work colleagues, everyone.
Very quickly, how do I close off my ears, my eyes, my mind to everything going on around me? Because sometimes it feels as if, without invitation, it just comes in. And so your whole spirit sinks. How do I do that?
Yes, that is so true. And again, too, social media plays a big role in that. Yes, we want to be aware, we want to be self-informed about what is happening. So we're always tuning into press conferences, or we're always listening to the outer world in terms of CNN and those other broadcasts. So dedicate some time where you will listen for a certain amount of time and then stop. So for instance, if it is early in the morning that you take in information, do that for an hour. Don't let that be the first thing you do in the morning. So make that be sometime in the morning, but not the very first thing that you do. Listen and then stop. So that then you can throughout the day, you can begin to quieten your mind. You don't have to be bombarded with news information. What's happening with COVID all the time? The amount of deaths that's happening.
Yes.
You know, so
Yes.
do it for a certain amount of time and then stop.
We need you, Brenda Roach. We definitely need you as our consulting psychologist, because there's so much more that we need as human beings to be able to grapple with as we grapple with this as well. So I hope you do agree to be back with us again sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and of course, whenever you're ready, you just let me know.
You got that right, girl. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Brenda Roach, our consulting psychologist, with us right here on Morning Bollocks. I hope you've learned